Welcome to the Modern Assyrian program on ANB SAT. My name is Carmen Morad. Today's special guest is the Stanislaus County District Attorney Birgit Fladager. Birgit Fladager, daughter of a career naval officer, graduated from the Department of Defense High School at the NATO base in Keflavik, Iceland. She received her bachelor's degree in political science from St. Olaf College in Northfield, Minnesota in 1983, and her law degree from the University of the Pacific's McGeorge School of Law in Sacramento, California in 1986. Ms. Fladager was accepted into the U.S. Navy's Judge Advocates General Corps, also known as JAG, while still in law school. She served on active duty with Navy from 1986 to 1990. After attending Officers Indoctrination School in Newport, Rhode Island in 1986, she completed Naval Justice School in early 1987. She was assigned as an assistant staff judge advocate at Commander, Navy Base San Diego, where she served 2 years. She was then detailed as a court-martial prosecutor and as an assistant officer in charge of the Legal Services Office at the North Island Naval Air Station in San Diego. She prosecuted courts-martial for military offenses such as desertion and other offenses up to and including child abuse and attempted murder. Ms. Fladager became a prosecutor with the Stanislaus County District Attorney's Office in 1990. Her assignments within the Stanislaus County District Attorney's Office have included the Crimes Against Children, Sexual Assault Unit, the Stanislaus Drug Enforcement Agency, and Felony Trial Team. She became the first deputy district attorney assigned to lead the Domestic Violence Unit, where she remained for over 2 years. She was promoted to chief deputy in 1999. In that capacity, she supervised felony trial prosecutors and was responsible for the homicide on-call team. Ms. Fladager was a member of the prosecution team that convicted Scott Peterson in 2004 of the murder of his wife Lacey and unborn child Connor, a trial that was widely covered in the national media. As a result of their efforts, the team was recognized by both the California District Attorneys Association as Prosecutors of the Year and the National District Attorneys Association with their Home Run Hitters Award. March 2006, California Lawyer magazine featured them as Attorneys of the Year in Criminal Law. Ms. Fladager was elected District Attorney in June 2006, the first woman to hold that position in Stanislaus County. She was re-elected to that position in 2010 and 2014. Significant accomplishments that have occurred during her tenure as DA include the establishment of a vibrant and very successful family justice center where victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, elder abuse, and human trafficking receive support and services that enable them to heal, stay safe, establish independence, and, where feasible, participate in the criminal prosecution process. Another major accomplishment was the establishment of the county's first criminal street gang injunction, which is designed to enhance the safety of a neighborhood from violent gang members and to give law enforcement officers an additional tool to proactively intervene with gang members before serious crimes occur. In addition, the office has recently doubled the size of the Victim Service Unit to better serve crime victims throughout the county, and to also pair up with the law enforcement agencies to be available in the field to respond immediately to crime victims' needs. Honor, a specially trained courthouse dog, is a welcome new addition to the office. She provides comfort and assistance to crime victims where they testify. DA Fladager is currently the first vice president of the California District Association and will become president in 2018. She is also a member of the Modesto Rotary Club and serves on the board of directors. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I would like to begin by thanking you for accepting my invitation out of your busy schedule to meet with us today and have a conversation with our viewers.
It's my pleasure.
Before we begin, we always share your background and your bio and your impressive accomplishments and achievements, and our viewers have a chance to understand you a little bit better. But I want to begin by, first of all, acknowledging the fact that you are the first woman district attorney in Stanislaus County.
First elected district attorney, yes. And I am very proud of that and very humble to have that opportunity.
The reason I bring that up is because we need mentors, we need inspiration for women and young girls to not only pursue higher education and go to law school, especially Assyrian girls and women, but also the fact that what it takes to run for office like you have, and what the journey has been like for you.
You know, it's been very exciting and very challenging. Running for office was not something I ever contemplated, even when I was deciding to go to law school. It's an opportunity that arose, and I felt ready for it. I had encouragement, family, friends, people at work, and people in the community. That is what you really need to carry you through, and everyone needs a little bit of encouragement and maybe a little shove to get out there and do it.
That's wonderful. I want to begin my first question with you, Birgit, is with the highly charged political times that we live in, we would like to inform and educate our viewers about the services, the mission of the District Attorney's Office, and what the responsibilities of the District Attorney are.
Well, the mission of the District Attorney's Office, in our view, is to seek justice, serve justice, and do justice. That's really what we are all about. We work with law enforcement. The way that it works is if there's a crime that occurs within the entire county, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony, whether it's investigated by the Sheriff's Department, the Turlock Police Department, California Highway Patrol, you name it, any law enforcement agency, it comes to us for review, and we make a decision whether there's enough evidence to file charges. And it's really a different process than what law enforcement does. They will make an arrest or give a citation based on probable cause. We have to believe we can prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt to a unanimous jury of 12 people. It's a much higher standard. So there are times where we may actually believe someone is guilty of a crime and we can't file charges. That's very hard to explain to a victim, but it is our role, and we are required ethically to only pursue cases where we really believe someone's guilty and we can prove it. So we in our view, protect the entire county, citizens across the entire region. And we've got a lot of good programs within our office to try and help crime victims. And we also try and educate law enforcement so they know better how to do their job so that we can build our cases.
So other than just putting bad guys away, there are other services that the District Attorney's Office offers. In fact, when you say to pursue justice and do justice, child abduction, crimes against children, consumer fraud, domestic violence, gangs, identity theft, real estate fraud, and victim services. Which one of those that I just mentioned do you see in your tenure as a trending activity that our viewers should be concerned about and be more informed about?
Well, you know, there's been a lot of different trends in the 27 years I've been in this office and the almost 12 years I've been the elected DA. For a time period during the economic crisis, real estate fraud was rampant and was a huge issue. It remains an issue, and we have some folks specialized and trained to do that. But an ongoing problem that I've seen from the day I started here is domestic violence. It is pervasive. It occurs in all elements of the society and community. So that's a huge problem for us because it impacts families and children who grow up in that environment. And then also, of course, throughout the county, we've got a gang problem, different kinds of gangs, but you see it in Modesto, you see it in Turlock, you see it in Patterson, and that creates an element of fear in the communities where it occurs. We're very concerned about that. We aggressively prosecute cases, and we reach out to the community to make people understand that we're here to help and we're here to protect them.
So it's a collaboration of different agencies, law enforcement agency, police, sheriff, investigators, victims advocates.
Yes.
The services of your office isn't just for victims of crime, but also victims that need advocacy. What kind of services and what agencies do you work with, and who benefits from these services?
So we do a lot. We obviously have prosecutors in the office. We've got almost 50 lawyers. We've got about 18 criminal investigators that do our follow-up investigation and do some of their own investigations as well. We have about 12 to 14 victim advocates. The advocates are hugely important in helping us keep victims engaged in the process because a criminal case can take a long time. Or maybe you have a victim where the crime's not solved. They've still been injured and harmed in some way, so our advocates can help them apply for compensation from the State Victims Compensation Board so they can get counseling. Our victim advocates will go with crime victims to court or with next of kin if there's been a homicide or a vehicular fatality. They'll go to court with their family to make sure they're comfortable and safe in the courtroom. We have new programs in our victim services unit that really engage in more outreach. For example, elder abuse. We have an advocate who does nothing but that, goes into the community, reaches out to the elders to make sure that they know their rights and how to seek help. We have a program where two of our victim advocates, they really engage with the community where there's a lot of gang violence. They go to community events, they work with community organizations, they engage with the victims of those crimes, and the idea there is to make sure that folks understand we're here to help. They shouldn't be afraid of law enforcement. They can cooperate and communicate with law enforcement. We'll be there with them. They can be the eyes and ears. It's the only way to make communities safer is if people feel safe coming forward and feel that they'll be supported by law enforcement and by our office.
Absolutely. When you said outreach, I have had the privilege of working with Stanislaus County with prevention services, with BHRS, Behavioral Health Recovery Services, and social services. And prevention and the focus on prevention, as you know, in our county is extremely important. And reaching out to the unserved and the underserved communities, reaching out to schools, reaching our youth at the school level, as middle and elementary school, about the relationship with law enforcement. What steps does your office take when it comes to schools, and which agencies do they collaborate with to make sure that kids are comfortable reaching out if they have a problem or if they see something that could be a problem?
That is a great question, and there are so many ways in which all of us engage and a number of people in our office get involved. For example, as simple as Crime Stoppers. There's a program that is designed really to encourage people in high school, for example, who see bullying or are aware of crime that occurs, to make them feel comfortable coming forward, even if anonymously, to report a crime or to prevent a crime from happening. So we're active with Crime Stoppers to make sure that that program stays vibrant and active. We have our prosecutors who will go to a program called the Drugstore, which is held at some of the local elementary schools. And the idea there is to really help youngsters understand the dangers of drug use and how it can really derail your life, and you can lose your life as a result of it. We are very involved with the Family Justice Center. That's a program that I'm really proud to say that we were instrumental in bringing to Stanislaus County. And the idea there is to have a location where victims of crime, in particular children, and their families can go in one place and get the services and support they need to participate in the criminal justice system if that's part of the process, or if there's not going to be a prosecution or the prosecution has already happened, to continue to provide services and support so that the kids can move beyond that and not become mired and stuck. The Family Justice Center has a program where they send young people to camp. And sometimes these young kids have never been outside of Stanislaus County, right? And then they get to go to a wonderful camp where they can ride horses, they can do whitewater rafting, they can rappel, and they learn confidence, and they learn, among other kids who've been through a similar situation that they have, that there's more to life than that one thing. They can move beyond it, and they can be successful. So there's so many things that we do. There's another one I'd love to brag about. It's called Focus, but it's a different focus than the county program, and it stands for Focusing on Children Under Stress. And the way that it works is this. We learned about the program in West Virginia. One of our investigators and a probation officer went way out to West Virginia to learn about dealing with drug-endangered children. That was the conference. And they learned about a program in tiny West Virginia that was in place that they called CARE, or Handle with Care. And the idea is this, that if a law enforcement officer comes in contact with a child in a stressful situation, such as maybe the father's just been arrested, maybe the mother was the victim of a crime, maybe the child was the victim of a crime, that the law enforcement officer finds out the child's name and date of birth and just simply sends a notice to the school. It doesn't say what happened, it just essentially says handle with care. Pay attention to this child in case they aren't paying attention. Maybe they don't have their homework done. Maybe they're not prepared for a final that day. All the school knows is that something bad happened or something traumatic happened to the child. Give them space, give them care, provide a counselor. So we have implemented that program in Stanislaus County. It is in all the public schools. All the law enforcement agencies participate. We've expanded it here to include fire, so the fire agencies, so if there's a house fire, a firefighter can simply send the notification, and then that notification goes to the school. Otherwise, the school may not know. And it has been such an exciting program and so helpful for the kids that it's expanding throughout the state. We're taking it to other counties to educate other counties how to implement it. And really, the goal is this. We want children to succeed, and we want them to graduate from school, because if they don't graduate from school, the chances of them ending up in the criminal justice system are so much higher, and we don't want that. So that is another program where we reach out and we're trying to help children, be successful.
So it has to do with the best interest of the child. We often think about just their physical well-being and safety, but this has to do with their mental health, well-being and safety. And oftentimes trauma plays such a role where there is post-traumatic stress as well, whether it's domestic abuse, whether it's what they have seen others go through as well.
Right.
And BHRS does an incredible job. I'm bragging because I used to work for them, but they do an incredible job when it comes to reaching out to schools and communities. But going back to what we talked about, outreach, cultural competency is something that our county, which I'm very proud to say it's one of the truly best counties that pays attention to the well-being of its members and residents, reaching out to the unserved and underserved community members, and how culture and how we are raised and how what we believe in plays a big role in how we reach out for services. And that doesn't exclude your agency and the DA's office, because when you're working with members of the community who come from regions that have been in fear, they come from conflict, they come from war, they could be refugees, they could be new immigrants to a country. How do you do that outreach where people in uniform are seen in as someone who's there to help and not to harm you? We talk about children, but in this case I'm talking about adults.
Again, a very good question. And again, we turn a little bit to our victim advocates again. We have a number of our victim advocates who are fluent in other languages, which is very helpful. And we have people, some of our own staff, whether it's clerical or IT, our IT manager, for example, and some of our attorneys can speak other languages. I think that's incredibly helpful and vital. But for our advocates who can go into the community and speak the language, because they truly can reach out to the victims and say, we can help you, these are ways we can help, these are services we can provide. I think it's incredibly important. I would love to have more diversity in the ranks of our prosecutors. And the sad fact is, we don't necessarily reflect in the community what the community is by our prosecutors that we have. Because to be a prosecutor, you have to go to college and you have to go to law school.
Yes.
And you know, if you're a minority and you have made it through law school and passed the bar exam, especially if you speak a foreign language, you are in huge demand. Huge demand. So to encourage those folks to come to Stanislaus County and be a prosecutor is a little hard to do, because the opportunities are so great to go do something else. But if you're from this community, we want to hear from you, right? We want you to come here. We want you to work here. If I can do anything to encourage young women, especially, because I think they make great lawyers, they make great prosecutors.
Great district attorneys.
Great district attorneys, yes. People trust them. You know, there's something about women sometimes where they're a little easier to trust, right, to feel comfortable with. We're a little less scary, I think, sometimes than the guys. So being a prosecutor, it's a great field for women, but we really also want it to reflect the community more. So to the extent we can encourage folks from other cultures, we try and do that, and we take volunteers to bring people in, whether it's a high school student, a college student, a law student, come in and find out about us. Come spend a summer. You know, we can put you to work even doing little things, or just come tag along with me or one of my lawyers for a day, see what we do, see if you're interested. Being a prosecutor is you're a public servant, and what we do truly matters, I think, and we do our part to keep the community safe, and we really strive hard to make sure the criminal justice system operates the way it's supposed to operate, meaning everyone is treated fairly and with dignity and respect. And, you know, we're not out to put people in prison for life for stealing a piece of pizza, which is some people have said about the 3 strikes law. That's not how it's done, and it's not how it's done here. We protect crime victims, and we hold people accountable the way they need to be held accountable. But it takes all members of the community in support of that effort.
How involved is your office and your role within legislation that is placed in Sacramento at the Assembly and the Senate? And I know we heard a lot when we have interviewed our congressman and assembly member that had to do with reducing felonies to misdemeanors.
Right.
And that means that a lot of our offenders in California went back to local jails. I know that impacted Stanislaus County. How did it impact your office, and what is being done about it?
You know, that's an excellent question, and most of the changes in the criminal justice system in the last several years have been brought about by way of propositions as opposed to actual legislation by legislators. Legislation is easier to deal with, I think, because, you know, we can go in and sit down with a legislator and say, this is a good bill, this is a bad bill, you need to fix it this way, you need to tweak it that way. Propositions can be a little dangerous because of the folks who maybe write them and spend the money on them. And they go to voters who frequently, unfortunately, don't take the time to read the entire language of the proposition. And I don't blame them, because if it's 20 pages long, it's really hard to get through. But unfortunately, those are the ways some of these things have come to pass. And they've left us with some of the negative fallout from Prop 47 and Prop 57. So you mentioned the changing from felonies to misdemeanors. And what the proposition did was take every single drug possession offense, cocaine, heroin, PCP, you name it, became a misdemeanor, unless you had enough of it that we could make a case it was for sale. So it became a misdemeanor, which meant there's really very little consequences to that crime if you get arrested for it. So if you have someone who is a drug addict, sometimes the only way they ever get clean and sober is by hitting bottom. And for some people, that means they need to be arrested again and again and again and spend time in jail. And that stick is now gone. So what we're seeing now is an uptick in the folks at our local level who get arrested time and time again for drug possession and for theft and serial theft, which are misdemeanors. So we don't have a way to really have the judge hold them accountable and force them into treatment, which is going to create more of a cycle with folks that really can't get help. And that to me is very sad. The good news I'll put out there is a proposition that is being circulated for signatures now, which would fix some of the problems with Prop 47 and 57. So we'll have to see how that comes around. But it takes a proposition to fix the proposition, which is very expensive.
Let's take a break, and we'll be back with our district attorney after a brief break.
بعينات بغزايق شبرت بريتا وأمانوتا وخلقت السيارة بهيارتت عيناتن باليابخ بقرايخ وبكتابخ أنا نقايوتا كخامتت عيناتوخون سلامت بيش نزريز تهار ماشين بريشة كسخصتت عيناتوخون أن ماشين إينا رابة تكنيكاية بخادرقا اللايا تبقون بي أسيا جون مايكل آوونت لخانسيانا رابا أرويخا جدا جخلا سخصتت عيناتا سخصتا سلاماتويتا وخامتت بارد عيناتوخون ماسيتون سابيتون لجودة أسيا جون مايكل جو ريتنا انستيتوت of Illinois أسيا جون مايكل اتل سبسبيشالتي جو ريتنا وكامس غير قداني كأتلون مرض شاكر يان diabetic retinopathy, retinal detachment, macular degeneration, and complications of cataract surgery. Jumendit Chicago Grimon Alminiana telephone Shavamo Shovitla Shavamo 20 Arpa Ichi Arpa Sipar Sipar. Jumendit Niles Grimon Alminiana telephone Tmeniamo Arpi Shava Tremo Ichi Shava 20 Ucha Sipar Sipar.
We all have that one person we call, no matter what the situation or event. Who do you call when you've had a stressful day at work? When you get the news that you're having your first child, or that you landed your dream job? Now, what if you or a loved one have been injured and need advice? Who do you call? Think about it.
قبوش مطقانياته وبقارة قابيلوخون ماسيتون قاريتون علمنيانة تلمو تريسر وتجمو اسري اتشا تلايت منيا سيبار شافا توني اسكالاغراكوس and the associates ماسي هايريلان بيليشانا آتورايا.
Have you tried to get rid of that unwanted stubborn fat with diet and exercise, but it just won't go away? Is that stubborn fat spoiling your weight loss efforts or ruining your physique? Introducing Sculpture, a laser-based system that removes fat without surgery so you can enjoy a slimmer, trimmer figure. Sculpture allows you to remove fat from specific areas of your body like the belly, back, waist, and thighs. Sculpture removes slices of fat layer depending on a number of treatment sessions. Sculpture is a cosmetic procedure that is non-invasive and doesn't require incisions or surgery. Each session is 25 minutes long. It uses patented laser heat technology to target only fat layers underneath the skin, breaking down the walls of the fat cells and liquefying them so your body can carry the debris away over the course of 6 to 12 weeks. Dr. Fatima Pazuki is an experienced provider of sculpture treatments for patients in and around Turlock, California. Dr. Pazuki helps patients achieve the results they're seeking with individualized consultations and treatment plans. Call us at 209-216-3570 or book an appointment online.
Rose Express, bringing a personal touch to every arrangement. Rose Express will handpick the most beautiful flowers and bouquets for any occasions, from weddings to birthdays, anniversaries, funerals, and so much more. We have over 30 years of experience behind us, and we're voted #1 florist. Our award-winning floral designers will help create the best arrangements and centerpieces for any occasion. Weddings are our passion, and we will make sure you walk away with the best experience for your dream day. We offer complimentary wedding consultation. Contact us for a free consultation, and one of our design team members will work with you to create an event that you will not forget. You can reach us at 408-771-6140 or 408-564-7175. We are located at 3575 Stevens Creek Boulevard, Suite C, San Jose, California. Thomas Auto Sales, Gumantica, California. Qashavasar Shinne, Thomas Auto Sales, Itlanisiana Guzabentit Atmobile, Gumditit Mantica, California. Thomas Auto Sales, Kipelchi Raba Qishye, قميات خدوتا غزونانا قد بالت خدية بأوتوموبيل خاتي ين مبلخة بخا ديما رابا مرديانا. Thomas Auto Sales كم سخيرخ لكم بفاينانسينج وشغلت لونز. ميقرأ كمال توماس مارد توماس Auto Sales مقروب لي قيكوت زوناندني بديابل $10 ديسكاونت مال ليست برايس. أدرس دي ان إيلا 8 East Yosemite Avenue Gumdited Manteca, California. Kamsitun qaritun lan al 3 sipar ujja 3 la ujja sipar.
We're back with District Attorney Birgit Fladager to continue our conversation. We talked about the different impacts in the community, different propositions, and how it takes one proposition to set off another one. But let's talk about the cannabis, or as we used to call it, marijuana. Now it's cannabis, a proposition that passed last year, actually 2016, but it got implemented as of the beginning of 2018 in California. Let's talk about some of the impacts that you see and anticipate. It is a new law. What are the positive and negative impacts that you see with our community and how it will affect members of our community and county?
Well, the county is already beginning to put together a team so we can start meeting as a team to figure out how we're going to address cannabis. And primarily it's in the area of once the county, because the county's decided at this point to probably allow cultivation and distribution businesses. And of course they're going to put rules into place to make sure that the folks who get the licenses to do that follow all the rules and regulations so that they don't use pesticides, so that they follow all the rules, so that it doesn't become a blight wherever it's created. So that the businesses follow all the requirements regarding properly packaging and weighing. The other side of the coin is for those folks who are engaged in cannabis or marijuana distribution businesses growing, who are doing it illegally. What are we going to do about them? Because honestly, I think that is what most people are really concerned about. I'm concerned about it. I wouldn't want my next door neighbor growing marijuana in their garage or in their backyard, which I would have to smell. You don't want it being distributed on playgrounds. There needs to be a mechanism in place where we can actually hold the people accountable who are doing these things without licenses, without regard for the law. I'm very concerned, and I know members of the Board of Supervisors are very concerned what this impact is going to be. The cities within the county can and are taking different views. Some cities are saying, not in our city, we're not going to allow it, it's not going to be legal in terms of distribution or cultivation. Doesn't change the fact that the drug pursuant to the proposition is now legal in those cities. So even those cities will see people growing their own marijuana. I think those cities are going to require that it be grown inside as opposed to disturbing your neighbors by growing it outside. It's really the Wild West right now, it seems to me. There's really very little in the way of guidance, rules and regulations in place. This came about very quickly. We haven't really had the chance to look at places like Colorado and see what's working and what's not working. My concern really goes back to the kids, the children, because once it becomes legal, and even before it was legal, it was very readily available. Now that it's legal, I'm concerned it becomes more available to younger children, especially when they put it in the form of candies and edibles. And face it, if someone is high in school, they're not going to succeed in school. And we don't really know the impact of it on brain development and the rest of it for children. I know there are people very, very concerned about the fallout, and I'm one of those people.
Okay. This is such a new law, and I hope it gets revisited on, at least we can take prevention measures when it comes to schools, when it comes to education and prevention.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing your quite candid opinion on this. For our viewers who perhaps aren't familiar with Stanislaus County, I would like to ask you and remind you of the Peterson case. The tragedy of Lacey Peterson and her unborn son Connor. It converged national and international attention to your office, and it really tested your ability of handling all the attention and your leadership when it came to this case, and share with us what that journey meant to you and how you became so focused on what really matters, which was justice for the victims.
You know, we unfortunately handle a lot of murder cases in this office. And I'd handled many murder cases prior to the Peterson case. And to me, what was always important was holding the person accountable who was responsible and making sure that the next of kin of the victims were treated fairly and appropriately. This case became so unusual because of the media attention. It was really something we'd never seen before. It was something we'd never dealt with. We weren't really well equipped, I think, to deal with it because you couldn't even imagine what was happening. There were reporters everywhere. The focus for us right from the beginning, for myself and for the other attorneys who were working on the case, was we wanted to treat the case like we would any other case, right? We had our victim, and we had our next of kin, and they deserved justice. And that was the focus. So what we really tried to do was block out the media so that we wouldn't pay attention to it. We just focused on preparing the case, getting ready for trial, being in the courtroom, helping our witnesses testify, being there for the next of kin, the family members of Lacey and Connor, to make sure that they felt heard and supported and protected. So we were able to do that. It was very difficult, I'll tell you that, with that kind of media attention. But I'm really proud of the fact that Dave Harris and Rick DeStasso and I and the investigators and our support staff and our victim advocates, they were all part of that team to make sure that we kept our eye on the ball and we did what was right and we focused. We didn't lose sight of what we were doing. And I think that really is what helped us get through what was a really difficult year-long process.
And you were recognized for your work and your investigations and your team, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It made our county very proud, and your leadership, and like you said, you really paid attention to what mattered and did not get distracted. So, in closing, I would like to ask you, in your tenure, and of course you will continue your work, and what last thoughts do you have that you want to share, not just constituents, but every person, every resident of this county, that they can expect in the future from your office and from your responsibility and your leadership as their district attorney?
Well, thank you for that question. You know, what I'd really like to share with everyone is I'm so proud of this office and everyone in it. We have prosecutors, investigators, paralegals, victim advocates, IT staff that keep the office running. And I'm sure I'm forgetting someone, clerical support. Everyone plays a vital role, and everyone here is motivated to do what is right to keep our community safe, and we will always do that. You have my promise on that. We do it because we know it's the right thing to do, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
Thank you. That came from the heart, and as we share with our viewers the importance of continuing to have collaboration with law enforcement. You had mentioned about there is different task force within the district attorney's office to prosecute local crimes, but also a collaboration with federal crimes with the FBI without breaching any confidentiality. What kind of cases can you tell us that actually you prosecuted in Stanislaus County?
Well, you know, we do have task forces where we work with federal agencies, the FBI, and they include the Central Valley Gang Impact Task Force, so that's an investigation unit that looks at gang crimes. We have the Stanislaus Drug Enforcement Agency. Again, there's a federal component looking into major narcotics trafficking here in the county. We have also a component that works with mortgage fraud and real estate fraud with the federal government, so it's an added tool for us. We do have a task force that we've started here, and it's the 209 Freedom Project, and it's an anti-human trafficking task force. We've had some representation by the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, and really it's an organization it's still fledgling, but it's going, and we have different subgroups. The idea is to bring awareness in the community of human trafficking that is occurring here, whether it's labor trafficking or sex trafficking. We work with Without Permission, which is a nonprofit organization that helps victims of human trafficking and provides training to law enforcement. There's training that is being brought here to our county. It'll be 2 days of training for law enforcement and prosecutors, so we can have a better idea of what to look for and how to prosecute the crimes. So those are crimes that can be prosecuted locally or in the federal courts. And again, that's another partnership that we can use in order to really hold people accountable.
Thank you for sharing that. Trafficking is getting a lot more attention, and especially in our area, and I'm familiar with Without Permission. They do great work.
They do wonderful work
in our county, so I actually recommend that more of our viewers look into that to see how they can contribute and they can help them out. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that information with us. Thank you for spending your time with us. And I look forward to future interviews with you. If there's anything that you would like to share with us that we can share with the rest of the community, with anything new, any collaborations with the community or other agencies, and as you mentioned, propositions that we really need to educate voters and educate members of the community, that they know what the pros and cons are before they go out and vote on them. So thank you for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed it very much, and I would love to return.
Thank you so much. That concludes our interview with our District Attorney, Birgit Fladager. Join us on the next Modern Assyrian program. My name is Carmen Morad.